well, welcome back to everyone. I believe that we had a successful session one, and this is the second session for the jury leadership course. It's been run with both the Australian Philatelic Federation and the New Zealand Philatelic Federation jury members. So for session two, I just wanted to go over the last session. Charles did an excellent job covering the responsibilities of a national judge, and I felt it was very comprehensive, and the notes that he sent out afterwards can be used both at national and I think at state level, at any level. They were very, very well done. We managed to get our first session up on the YouTube channel, and there's the YouTube link for those who want to view it. I had a quick look this morning, Pete, and we had 17 views. I had 7 people that couldn't make it, all sent me emails saying that they viewed it. Some of them had some questions, some made some comments. So I think that was quite successful. And now seeing that other people are viewing it, I think that's, to me, that's a success. So we had 32 people attend the first session. And as I say, we had 7 apologies who then viewed the first session. So again, special thanks to Peter Allen for persisting and cleaning up the video and getting it online. And I'm sure his professionalism will get all the other ones on there as well. So thanks, Pete. All right, so just covering that 4th of August, we did an introduction to our course, and then Charles gave an excellent talk on the judge's responsibility. This session will be team leader's responsibility, and I'll be taking this. So I'm hosting and lecturing at the same time. So I thought I might just start with, well, who the hell am I, to be sitting here talking about team leaders. So just a bit of a summary on where I'm at. So in the workforce, I've been 40 years in medical imaging, and at the last awards dinner, I gave a short presentation on medical imaging over those last 40 years, and I think that went down pretty well at the awards dinner. I've been involved with the Australian Philatelic Federation for 15 years. I've had 5 positions there, started off as treasurer, did the vice president, media past president, and currently the international officer. I've been a national judge for 12 years. I started off judging in Melbourne in 2009, and as you heard, both Jeff Kello and Dingle Smith had to put up with me for that apprenticeship time, and then I've moved on and done a few shows since then. The last 6 years, I've been an international judge, so I've qualified both for Fiat First and FIP, and now just working my way through that. One of the things, I made a decision in 2004 from the Swan River show that I would attend every national exhibition there was in Australia, because I really enjoyed it, and I felt if I wanted to be a better exhibitor, I had to see what people are doing. And one of the things that I do is when I see an exhibit that I like but don't fully understand or do understand, I go and find the exhibitor and ask them to walk me through it. And if you haven't done that before an exhibition, I think that's an exercise you need to do. You need to just go up to, it can be a senior exhibitor, a junior exhibitor, it doesn't matter. Just get them to walk you through their exhibit, and you'll be amazed what you can learn. And you can put that into your judging down the track, because the more exhibits you fully understand, the better it is for you to judge down the track. On the right-hand side, there's a cartoon of me, which was done for my 30th birthday. Back in the day, I used to wear grey flares and desert boots. I don't think anyone's worn a desert boots since. I had a bit of a pot then, so things haven't changed, and you can see down below I've got a radiation badge with a safety pin. So I'd probably, part of my skin cancer problems from radiation, but I believe most of it's from the sun. All right, Team Leader 101. So why is it 101? So if you go to university, the first year is the 100, the first semester is the 1, and if it's a 0, it means it's the major part of what you're going to do. So this is what I believe we're going to move forward on. So the question I've got there is, why bother? Why bother being a team leader? Why bother learning how to be a team leader? And the reason I put questions up is I want you to think about the question as I start, but in fact, my job is to answer them. And then hopefully you come up with similar answers to what I'm asking. If you've got a question and we need to discuss it, just stop me and I'm happy to, I can work with answering questions that's on the fly. Or if you just want to type one, I've got Ian McMahon monitoring the chat channel and he can answer those or bring them to my attention at the time. So let's proceed. So what is the purpose of teaching about being a team leader? So the purpose, develop competency. We want people to be competent judges, team leaders, secretaries, chairmen. Every role on that jury, we want you to be competent. And we want to make sure that, and particularly between Australia and New Zealand, we set a high standard. In fact, we judge at international level. We just downgrade the medal level by one. But we want to ensure that what we're giving to the exhibitors is both fair and accurate and consistent from one exhibitor to another, from one exhibition to another, from one country to another. And I think that's a pretty important purpose for us to do. So I'm hoping that you'll get inspired to be a better team leader if you are one now, or if you're going to become one. Think about how you can be a good team leader. Think about the team leaders you had in the past. All right, team leaders. What do you think team leaders' responsibility are? Again, a rhetorical question, and it's going to be based around my whole presentation. So where do I start? I thought, well, since we talk about, we judge at international standards, let's see what the FIP articles say, what they expect from a team leader. And this is straight off their website. So Article 21, responsible of team leaders is, team leaders shall ensure that all members fully participate in judging. And I think that says that for everybody in the jury, that everyone needs to pull their weight, be involved actively and help for the outcome. Meeting deadlines set by the jury president and secretary. We run a tight schedule on our nationals. We generally start Friday night and we're done and dusted by Sunday, but we've got a Palmyras on Saturday, which means all the results are going to be in, all the awards are going to be allocated. So there is a lot of time pressure and so everyone has to pull their weight through the whole time. And the team leader has to make sure that his team does that. I'm saying it's his or slash hers, so please apologise me. Training and evaluation of apprentices. So from time to time, as new judges get developed, we'll have apprentices and one or two may be attached to your team. So you will be actively involved in the training of that apprentice and also evaluating them at the end of the time. Assessing the capabilities of first-time jurors. So nationally, we do an apprenticeship and a probation, and then you're on your own after that. So as a good team leader, if someone's new to being a full judge, then you should spend a bit more time with them as well. You've got to make sure that the judging team enters the results into the program that's used for issuing results. So in our case in Australia is Exhibition Aid. Even at Fiat we use the same. It's a spreadsheet function, but it still means entering numbers in. So the numbers that you write on your bit of paper and hand to the secretary, to the assistant secretary, must be correct. And I've seen some of them where someone's put 17 for treatment, then crossed it out and put 16, rubbed it out, put 15, crossed it out, put 16, and the poor secretary's got to work out which is the final result. So if at all possible, just get them to redo the whole lot before you hand it in. There are times where you have a championship class and team leaders will be involved in evaluating that, and you'll be involved in nominating out of your exhibits if anything is worthy of a grand award. So you'll be presenting candidates for that. And the biggest thing is making sure that the security of the jury material, that people don't leave results out in the main area, that people do keep everything secure within the jury room. So this is straight from the FIP playbook, and this is no different to what we have at a national level. So team leaders preparation before the exhibition. So another rhetorical question. Some of you probably think, well, all I need to do is rock up and then I can be a team leader. But in fact, it starts well before you get to exhibition. So How to prepare a team leader before the exhibition. So let's have a look at some of the things you need to be doing. So hopefully you've been informed that you're the team leader. There has been odd occasions where you rocked up to the jury expecting to be in a jury and someone to be your team leader, and then that person's sick and all of a sudden you're the team leader. This presentation can't handle that, but that's a possibility and you should always be prepared for that. So if everything works out well, the secretary has now sent you an email or given you a call and said, okay, here's your team. And here are the exhibits you're going to judge. And down the track, we're going to send you all the title pages, and they're going to be fantastic title pages. You'll be able to work out treatment and everything well before you even start. You can do all your research. I would be looking at my team straight away saying, well, where are the strengths? You know, I've got Paul Xavier on my team. I know he's good at Papua New Guinea. I know he's good at Fiji. He's probably good at the Pacific Islands. So I know he's got a strength there. Tim Schofield might be someone that's good with British Commonwealth. So I know I've got some strength there. So that's the first thing I want to do is get a feel for my team. I also want to have a look at what are the strengths of the other jury members in other teams. And why would you do that? Because there's going to be someone, let's say I'm doing postal stationery at Sierra Leone, but I know nothing about it. But I know another team leader, Jeff Kello, has got a traditional exhibition on that. So if I get stuck on country information, maybe I can go and see him. So this is all the prep work that you should do. You should familiarise yourself with everyone who's going to be in the jury team. The next thing is you've got to start to be a bit time management. You need to look at how many exhibits you've got, how much time you're allocated, and how much time you can give to each of those exhibitions. So that's a pretty important exercise. And then I think you've got to be fair to the apprentice. You've got to look at the exhibits and you're going to allocate. And I think you need to allocate a high medal level that you're pretty sure is going to be a high medal level exhibit, a mid-level, and something that's probably reasonably lousy. So an apprentice gets to see all the varieties. Don't just give them all the easy stuff or all the large vermeils. So make sure there's a bit of a mix. So the team, who and what are their strengths? So again, you've got a list of jurors. If you don't know them, you should try to find out about them. You could call someone. You could Google them, because when I Google everybody's name here, it's amazing how it goes straight to a document or a Palmyra to say what award you got for your exhibition. So just by putting the person's name into Google and searching what they've exhibited in the past may give you an idea on where their strengths are. And if you're not too sure, contact them and ask. I don't have a problem. I don't have to be the be all or end all of a team leader. So comparing the exhibits with the jury team strength. So looking at the list that we've got, I have a preference. If I've been allocated 15 exhibits to judge, I've got a team of myself and 2 others. I know that means each of us should lead on 5 of those exhibits. So as a team leader, I'd normally put out the list and say, tell me the 5 that you want to be the first responder to. So what that means is you're going to be the lead when we get to that exhibit. You're going to walk us through everything you know. You're going to be the person that may get the final say when we're not too sure on what's going on. And you're definitely going to be the person who's going to write the feedback. So you can be prepared for that. And possibly you're going to be the lead on the face-to-face side as well. So given them the choices, they can then go and select their 5. As a team leader, I will take the remaining amount. So I don't get a choice unless someone like someone say, no, I want to do the Nicaraguan traditional, and I know that I know more about that than anyone else. Maybe I would pull that one off them. But as a rule, I'm always happy with the exhibits that each of the judges have taken. And then there's a bit of comfort. Now, do I expect them to study on all of the other ones? Yes, I do. That's part of being a judge. You can't get out of that. But I do expect you, the 5 that you've chosen, the 6 that you've chosen, you're prepared to be that first responder and carry on. So what do I mean by being a first responder? I think pretty much I've just gone over it. So you're going to be the person that's going to give the primary feedback to each of the exhibitors, but you're also going to give the feedback straight to the judges as well before we start making our minds up. So again, I've put down here, ask the jurors. Now, do you have to? No. I mean, team leading is being a leader. If you want to be a dictator and say, I'm going to tell you what to do, then you can go ahead and do that. But I think in these days, this is a hobby. If someone really wants to be the first responder on an exhibit, let them do that. I think that's pretty important to do. All right, time available and your choice of judging strategies. What do you mean, Glenn? We've got a set of points. We have to get them all down. But if you've been to enough juries, you know, each team leader has a different way of doing it. Some people like, let's walk around the whole, all of our displays, exhibits before we start judging. Some people like, let's walk around all of our exhibits and we'll just do presentation on each one of them and we get a feel for where we're going to be. Others might say, let's do 3 first and then go back and look at these 3 and see how we're going. So everyone's got a different way of proceeding with judging. Some are collaborative. We'll sit down and say, okay, where do we think the first responder thinks presentation? Oh, sorry, let's do treatment. And he says, I think 17 out of 20. And then everyone else looks at the same and they say, look, we all agree with 17, and that's collaborative. Or some people say, well, write your scores down, then tell me what they are, and then we'll see what we need to do. Again, still another way of judging. So you need to work out how you judge, and you need to inform your team that this is going to be the way, the strategy of judging. Now, calculating the time for each exhibit. So I wish that we had 2 or 3 hours to give the exhibitors everything they need. But let's just look at an example. Let's say you have a standard team. There's you, 2 other judges, and an apprentice. All right, you've got 30 multi-frames to judge. That's pretty typical if you had. We're going to get Friday night. Now, Friday night's good because there's normally nobody else in the exhibition hall other than maybe a cleaners or someone setting up. You've got a great amount of time to get stuck into it. Saturday morning, probably there's going to be 6 hours through the day that you can be judging, but then the general public's going to be there. You're going to have the exhibitors standing behind you, hoping to get a glimpse on what you're saying, good or bad, about their exhibits. So let's say you got 10 hours. So that's 10 full judging hours. 600 minutes divided by 30, 20 minutes an exhibit. However, you know, you normally will spend a bit of time on the first 3 exhibits and work out what you're doing as a team of 4. You typically will send your apprentice off to go and have a look at theirs and then come back to you. You go and carry on judging. Then you bring the apprentice back and ask him to be his first responder on his exhibits. Then you've got the final walkthrough to make sure you've got all the marks right. So in reality, you've got between 10 and 15 minutes to judge an exhibit. So we're talking an 8 frame exhibits, 10 minutes, just over a minute every frame. And what's the first thing that happens when you get to a frame? All 4 people spend 2 minutes reading the title page. And already you're taking valuable time. Now, while that's important, I hope that you've read your title pages over again, and all you're doing is glancing at it to make sure there's not too many changes from the original draft that was sent to you. So it's a cracking pace. And to be fair, every exhibitor should get the same amount of time. What I don't like is running out of time and just going, I'll give them a gold, give them a large, everything looks good, and not really giving it a good judging thing. So as a team leader, you need to manage time quite seriously. You need to give time breaks to have coffees. I get all of that, and that's all part of it. But you need to be realistic about what you're going to do. The amount of times I've worked in a bin room and still seen people writing feedback and trying to slot them into someone's envelopes as you're trying to get them back out to the commissioners. I mean, that's not good time management. That's all got to get done beforehand. If you've got an issue, then, you know, before the Palmaris and after Palmaris, you need to be doing it if you can't keep on task. All right, apprentices. So you'll know in advance the apprentice that that you'll be looking after. You may not know anything about the apprentice. Again, you can Google them and find out what their exhibits are, and hopefully they've got a few to choose from. You should look at choosing 2 to 5, depending on the amount that you're doing. At least 3 is a good level, and try to make what you think each of them to be a different meta level. Always let the apprentice be part of the team in the beginning. So don't just send them off to go and judge and then bring them back. Let them see your style, how everyone is communicating, what people are talking about, how they talk about treatment and rarity, etc. So they can feel a bit more confident when they're going to speak in front of you. And after you've judged some of the exhibits, then you can send the apprentice off to go and do that. All right, leading the team. So now we're at the exhibition, we've walked in. What do we need to do at the first jury meeting? I think the first thing you need to do is just sit everyone down and welcome the team. Introduce yourself, and if it's me, most people know me, but maybe some people don't, so I'll give them a bit of a rundown. If the team members don't know each other, I give them a chance, a few minutes to explain what their interests are and what they collect and introduce to each other. Now, the apprentice typically is nervous because he doesn't know what to expect. You know, they've gone from maybe doing a state show, and that's different in every state. They've done the training course, they've done all the assignments, but they're still not too sure what's going to happen and what they're going to be done. So I think you've got to give the apprentice a special welcome. You need to make them relax and say, look, we're going to help you through every part of the process. Ask whatever questions you're going to ask, but do everything that we ask of you. Right? So I'm going to explain the process of what's going to happen for the poor apprentice. That I'm going to get him to judge with us in the beginning. I'm going to send them off to go and judge by themselves. I'm going to ask them to come back, be the first responder. I'm going to ask them a few questions on why they've selected certain things. I'm going to ask a few questions on why they've chosen various marks. And then I'm going to confirm this is the list that I'm going to give you to do. Now, have I told them in advance what they're going to do? No. I need them to study all of the exhibits. That's part of the apprenticeship. I will confirm at that first meeting exactly which ones they're going to do. And if there's any objections, I might manage that and change that around. So I hope that you guys all remember what it was like when you were an apprentice. Some of you it was just a couple of years ago, and others it was quite some time ago. But just try to remember those feelings. Try to remember what your team leader did to you, how he made it feel comfortable, etc. All right, so explaining your judging strategy to the team. I think that's important because, you know, if you've never been their team leader before, they don't know what you do. And I think before you get out there, you need to sit down and say, this is how we're going to judge. I would always say that my style is a friendly style. Everyone's interactive, everyone gets a point. If we can't agree, I'll still make the final decision because it's my neck on the block. We're going to also talk about leveling. So that's, you know, if we start going through the exhibits and in the beginning we're really hard, but by the end we're getting a bit easy, then we need to go back and check what we've done at the beginning. Or it may be the opposite way. We may have made the first few, given them higher awards than they should have, and as we got further and further into it, we got tougher. So you've got to explain that at some point we're going to go back and check all of this. Also, if there's several teams judging traditional, for instance, I want to keep an eye as a team leader on what the other ones, I mean, let's say Norm Banfield's doing one arrow and I'm doing arrow, and I've noticed that most of his are large golds and all of ours are silver bronzes. Are we being too tough? Is his team being too easy? Or has the secretary done a shifty on us and given Norm all the good stuff and our team all the bad? It's all possible. So you need to look at all of those things. Feedback responsibility. Some of you grew up with the word critique. We don't use critique anymore. It's always feedback. So we should give feedback for each of the exhibit. So I'm going to ask my guys, when you're the first responder, you're also going to be the guy that writes the feedback and give the face-to-face feedback. However, I'm just going to remind everyone to make notes as they're going along. But of course, we don't want to be too confusing and overawing the exhibitor on face-to-face. So the first responder should really do all the talking, unless asking one of the other jury members for an additional comment. Judging. So what do you do as a team leader focusing on during judging? Well, I think it's important that we set the right level. We need to start off and make sure the first couple that we judge are in the right ballpark, and we've done all the work that we need to do. So it wouldn't hurt to have a quick look at all the exhibits to give a bit of an idea. And if you've been doing a couple of these exhibitions, you might find you've come across ones you've already judged before. You might want to have a quick look to see, is it exactly the same as before, where there has been some improvements? What sort of level that you gave it before do you think this is looking at improvement? I think it's important to really start at the right level. So after judging some exhibit, always review each of the criteria. You know, treatment's the hard one, you know, but so you start doing 17, that's a good mark. You've done 17, and then all of a sudden 5 of them are 17, but are the treatments all the same? Are they all, you know, so that's something you need to go back and look at. You need to compare the level of every criteria, presentation, you know, it's the condition and rarity. Are we doing the same for everyone? Now, prejudice, look, as modern as this world is, we all have prejudice. And what we've got to try to do as team leaders is make sure that your judges don't judge it by their prejudice. For example, in Asia, they love red matting rare items, and some people hate that with a passion. But you can't penalise someone that's been taught to do that. But what I would do is, look, everything that's been red matted is to make sure they explain why it's rare, because there's a habit that people put a red mat to say this is rare with no explanation at all. So, you know, you've got to look at your prejudice, look at what people like and don't like. People don't like tram lines, so they're going to ping you for that. Is that really something that you should be doing? All right. For instance, in traditional postal history, you know, some people like to see a lot of material on every page, and some people like it to breathe a little bit so you can actually see it. And some people actually like, if you've got something really special, just to put in the middle page with nothing else around it. But some people don't like that at all. So I think you can't use your prejudice for the mark that you're going to give. I think you look at what the rules are and you stick firmly to the rules. Are they doing everything that they need to do, regardless of what you do or don't like about this? Right? So the main thing is, as long as the exhibit meets the criteria in every class, then it's acceptable. And I hear more discussions on what people don't like than what people do like, particularly when they're put in a feedback. So if I'm going over my judge's feedback before it goes out, if there's any prejudice in the feedback, I will ask them to rewrite that bit as well, because I think you don't know who's mentoring these people, and you can't set a comment that might then go back to their mentors and say, look, you've screwed things up for me, I'm never doing this again. That's not the point of this whole exercise.
And there's one point there, you have to remember you're judging the exhibit, not the person.
Ah, that's a very good point, Norman. And I try not to know or even mention who the person is when you're judging. And also, when there's grand awards and people are speaking on the exhibits, some people tend to speak about the exhibitor, which has got nothing to do with the grand award. It's all about. So I think that's a very important point, Norman. All right, involving all your team members in the jury work, right? So remember that all team members are important. Based on their strengths, get them to show us their strengths everywhere it can be. And also remind them to start taking down notes as soon as we start mentioning things, particularly if it's something that they didn't think of and they thought it was a good point. That may be a good point in the feedback as well. This one, not so bad in Australia and New Zealand, but in Asia, you could have 3 of your 4 jury members, the silent jury member, who say nothing at all, don't commit to anything, don't even put their hand up for a score. So that doesn't make him an active part of the jury. Now, they might be a quiet person anyway, so I'll appreciate that, but I'll be constantly encouraging them to say something, make a comment, and I won't make it a broad statement. I will just say something like, you know, we're giving 17 for treatment. How do you feel about that? Get them to say something about it. And if it's always, yes, I agree, I agree, I agree, that's still a silent jury member. So maybe you don't ask yes, no questions, but questions where they need to open up. So encourage those silent jurors to participate at every exhibit that they can, right? Ask their opinions and acknowledge that their input is important. So build up their confidence, because they could be a silent jury member because they're not too sure on what they're doing. They may not even feel they have the right to be there. And that's often what an apprentice does. But I think you need to encourage that at all times. So if there's 4 members, an apprentice, 2 jurors and a team leader, all of them should be inputting into the exhibit. All right, I'll put a picture of myself down there because I'm one of these culprits. So managing the jury member that wants to take over, particularly if you're not a strong team leader and you think this guy doesn't know what he's doing, I'm going to take over and do the lead on all these and everything. I've done that, and I've been told off for it as well. I remember Bernie pulling me aside one time and say, Glenn, you got to let the team leader make all these decisions. It's not your job. So I've learned, but it is important that you do take control and make sure that the person that wants to lead on everything isn't overtaking the person that could be doing some, but it's just one of those quiet jury members. So basically, try to get onto that problem straight away by saying in your introduction, I'm going to make sure everyone gets a chance of talking on each of the exhibits. All right, we may only have 10 or 15 minutes, but I need everyone to input, and that's what I do right up front. All right, leveling with other teams. So especially with traditional postal history and thematics, there's often 2 teams. Some chairmen may ask the 2 teams to cross over and physically go around and have a look at it. If your chairman doesn't do that, or secretary, then I would still be looking at the other team's marks to make sure they're comparable with what we're giving. Even if it's just a spot check, go out and have a look. Maybe look at a large gold, look at a large vermeil, look at a large silver, and see if that's what you're giving for that type of exhibit. So it is responsibility of the team leaders to coordinate and make sure that the teams are doing the same thing. What happens if the 2 team leaders can't agree? Well, then you should bring it to the chairman and just say, look, you know, I agree or disagree with this. I think these ones are all too easy. This is all too hard. And at least make the chairman aware. And then we'll find out in 2 more sessions how a chairman would handle 2 team leaders that can't agree. So I'm hoping you're noting, oh, no, Malcolm's not here for that. So always talk to the other team leaders. But apart from trad within trad, I still like to have a look at the postal histories and thematics. Do we think our standard is the same standard as the other classes? Because treatment for trad should be the same as treatment for postal history, for stationery. It should be the same mark for the same amount of information in the way that they treat it. So I think that's also an important part of all of this. Now, sometimes you get the luxury of having a senior consultant in the group where when you're not too sure on something, you can go up and have a chat to them and say, look, we don't know too much about this. We're not too sure about these proofs. We don't know where these specimens come from. We've never even heard of this country before. Can you come and help? So it's important to know that if you've got a senior consultant, don't just have them there as a figurehead. Actually bring them in and get them involved with your jury team, particularly if you've got an apprentice. So the apprentice knows that the team leader doesn't know everything, that they can call in someone else. So therefore they're not expected to know everything. I think it's important to share the load. Now at internationals, we have expert groups, we have senior consultants, and we have specialists, and all of those people get used. So let's make the whole jury work for us. So as team leaders, I think it's responsible to look up and down the ladder to make sure that the exhibitor who's paid $40, $50, $60 a frame, that we do the right thing by them. And in the same way, you should also offer yourself if someone else is having a problem. And I have that because I collect Nicaraguan. Someone has something in the Americas and they're not too sure, they might pull me over to have a look and say, what do you think about this? We're not too sure of this stuff. So I think that's important. Now, can we use people outside the jury? Yes, we can, but I would always clear it with the chairman first and say, look, I know Tony Shields knows a bit about these Latvian map notes. So do you mind if I go over and ask him what he thinks about something? I don't discuss anything particular. I just want a bit of feedback on what he thinks. He might also give me an indication on rarity, you know. So we do have the ability to do that as well. And I think, you know, if that's something that you want to do, clear it with the chairman and then move on. So part of what you should be considering at all times of all the exhibits you're doing, is any of them worthy of winning the grand award? And if so, let's nominate them, all right? And also you have the ability to offer felicitations for people that have exceptional research or material. So while they might not be deserving of the grand award, they might be deserving of felicitations. We also have special prizes most times for best in that category or something like that. So keep an eye out for those things. Also remember, when you put up for a grand award prize, who's going to talk on it. I think it's important that the team leader gets the person who's going to sell the story better than anyone else. It's not always the team leader. If someone knows the subject really well, hopefully within your team, get them to do it. If it's not within your team, if it's outside, you can also ask someone to do that as well. I mean, outside your team, but within the jury. All right, leading the apprentice. It seems like I seem to be talking a lot about the apprentice, but it is a major responsibility of the team leader. So the team leader, first of all, deserves to have feedback from you after judging. But I think also you should do it during the judging. If you think they're doing a good job, why don't you just tell them? If you think they need to just give us a bit more information here and there, then you need to tell them there and then as well. Don't leave everything to the end and say, look, you did a lousy job. You know, if you'd just done this and this, I would have passed you, but now you're out the door, buddy. How about we be a bit fair? If we think they're doing well enough that we're going to pass them, let's start telling them and take that nervousness off them. All right, so I need to know as a team leader, do I think this guy actually prepared? You know, did he know something about each of the exhibits? Has he got any evidence that he's done some research? Or did he just rock up and hope that he could bluff his way? So that's a pretty important. Most times you can tell, sometimes it is a bit difficult. Give them feedback on how they participated in the judging, and also how precise their judging was, whether they used the correct terminology. Did they keep saying this display rather than this exhibit? Did they correctly use the terminology treatment? Did they fully understand what treatment's all about? These are the type of things that we need to evaluate in each of the apprentices. I also look at what can I recommend for that apprentice become a better judge, where he might, you know, if it means stepping out of his shell a bit more, why not just say, if you could do that, you'd be a really good judge. You really know your stuff. You just need to, you know, speak up first and do that. Also, I want to let them know that I'm pretty happy with them, and I don't think we've failed too many apprentices, but I'd be pretty happy if I'm going to pass them, I'm going to tell them there and then. So that's some of the feedback, and I think most of you as apprentice got that feedback from your team leader. Now, also the first time juror, I think someone who's done their apprenticeship, done their probation, all right, their probation, they've got their first time that they can actually vote. So now they're on their own, they've got to be their own thought and everything. I think it's time to pull them apart at the end and give them some well-deserved feedback. You know, spend some time with them, give them an evaluation of their performance, not a written one, but just say, look, you know, I saw you as an apprentice and a probationist. You've really moved up the mark. I enjoyed the way you've done your research. I think you could do a bit more research. So, you know, all those type of things. How about you let them know, particularly about participating in judging? That's a fairly important part because we want everyone to pull their weight, how precise they were judging. And would you recommend that they would work to what they would need to work on to be better judges, you know, and we all can improve. And I think if there's something obvious, sometimes it's not obvious to us. We need to point it out.
So Glenn,
yep.
Just on providing feedback, one of the questions on the chat is whether would you provide feedback to an individual juror regarding their ability and performance? So I'd interpret that not as an apprentice or as a person on probation, but a normal, in inverted commas, jury member.
Definitely, because what I would say is they're first time juror, definitely I would give them feedback.
Yeah,
but if they're second or third or fourth time and you think, look, they're slipping a bit, I would pull them across. Now, my style would be out of the jury room, over a coffee or over a beer and saying, look, you know, you and me are judges. We know what's the right thing to do, but this is the area you really should consider improving in. Yeah, make it as positive as you can, but yes, definitely. I think, look, if someone came up to me and said, look, Glenn, I think you need to do this, I would listen to them, particularly if they've got the credibility. So the answer is, for me, is an emphatic yes.
Okay, thank you.
At the end of the day, I don't think anyone's an expert at being a judge. I think we do wing it a little bit as we're going along. The more we judge, the better off. But our time frame for judging, let's say over 20 years, you get to do a third of the national exhibitions as judges. You might judge 8, 9, 10 times in your life. I mean, and that's not always going to be enough to be really good at it. Now, how do I get more judging jobs? Go to more exhibitions, spend more time seeing what's out there, putting your face in front of people. If you want to judge more, do the work. Don't sit at home and saying, I'm just waiting for someone to pick me up because I'm an excellent judge. I think you need to be out there. You need to be talking about exhibits. You need to be doing everything. Good question anyway. Thank you for that. Just a couple of other duties. Nominating the Grand Award. I think that's always important that you look at. If you've gone through and you don't think anybody is deserving of a Grand Award, then don't nominate them. But there's always people that deserves it. Don't forget to nominate felicitations for research and material. Now, hopefully, if they've had felicitations before, it's already noted. We give it once and once only. But if it slips through the crack, I'm sure the exhibitor's not going to get upset if they got felicitations a second time. So, the other thing is consult with the jury chair to make sure that there's no discrepancies with previous marks. Now, I'm not talking 1 medal level, I'm talking 2 or more medal levels. So they got a bronze the first time, now you're giving them a large gold. Have they really put the effort in or something gone wrong? So that's a discrete discussion I would have with the jury chair just to make sure. But you know, I'll stick to my marks. If I've given them a gold and they got a large gold last time, unless someone can convince me otherwise, that's where we're at. And sometimes an exhibit goes backwards if they do nothing to it because all the other exhibits around are improving. And even in the short time that I've been judging and exhibiting, I've seen a huge improvement on exhibits. And that just makes it harder and harder for judges to make awards. Also, all our feedbacks are now written or typed. And you should read all of them from your jury team, sign off on them. Should also congratulate your team for a job well done, because remember that nobody gets paid to do this. Just crammed all that in a weekend from Friday night to Sunday night, and then you to go out and pack up the frames and help dismantle as well. So don't forget. And the big thing is make sure everyone has fun, because it is a hobby after all. We enjoy it, the exhibitors enjoy it, Now, there might be the face-to-face where it looks like the exhibitor is not having a good time because they're not happy with what you're saying. But at the end of the day, when they go away and reflect on things, things are pretty good. All right, so I think we've gone through that. I might have just gone a bit quicker than I was hoping to, but I'm happy that if there's any questions or any group discussions you'd like, and hopefully we've covered all the points. If there's any other points of team leaders that I've missed, please let me know and we can have a quick discussion about that as well.